What's something that your parents did when you were growing up that you didn't realize was weird until you were an adult? My dad worked crazy long shifts and rarely got a lunch. He would come home and pour a whole box of cereal and a half a gallon of milk into a pot and eat it with a huge spoon. I would grab a tiny pot and eat with him. I went to my friend's house to spend the night, and the next morning we were having cereal, and I was confused when everyone grabbed a bowl, so I asked where the pots were. They got confused and asked me why I needed a pot. I explained and they said that no, that isn't normal. When I got a bit older I started making him lunch, haha. The thought of a kid getting a tiny pot to eat cereal with their dad and his big pot is the cutest thing, or well, thank you. My dad used to share his pot with me. This is my favorite one, or well, thank you. I'm definitely a daddy's girl, haha. Dad's funny smelling pipe was him smoking pot. My wife had this too. Went to a Dave Matthews Band concert when we were in college and she thought we were smelling the bathrooms or somebody ripping ass. Turns out, her dad had been hotboxing the bathroom every day after work, so concert weed just smelled like her parents' bathroom. Lol. I had a similar experience. My aunt would always smoke weed and cover the smell by lighting incense. The first time I walked into a head shop I thought it smells like Aunt Lisa. My parents smoked cigarettes. As kids we would take a family vacation and we always stayed in a smoking room. I assumed that stale smoke smell was just what hotels smell like. It wasn't until I was 20 and went on vacation with friends did I realize that hotel rooms weren't supposed to smell like that. They would blatantly talk about sex in front of me. Thought all families were that open until a friend of mine told me it wasn't normal to know your parents' favorite position. Edit, typo, I am so sorry, I was raised Catholic and all my relatives were Catholic. Small town of under 1,000 in Texas. Nobody talked about sex, it was something disgusting and shameful. We were pretty much taught to be ashamed of our genitals. In practice though it was the complete opposite. I don't understand this. Catholics are sex-shaming peeps, but at the same time, have 6 kids and expect you to pop them out one after the other like they and their parents did. Me too, except I'm from the South Asia. If you don't feel uncomfortable, mind telling what kind of things did they talk about in front of you? I remember very little because I was a child, but the ones I remember the most were when they got a Kama Sutra or something of sorts and flipped through it without bothering to hide it. When I asked about it, they told me everything about sex and positions, etc. Another time, I was a little older then, my dad brought me along to get groceries or something. In the way there, we passed a sex shop, I didn't even know what it was, and we pulled over. When the shopkeeper told us I couldn't be there, my dad left me by the counter and bought what I assume was a regular dildo, but in my child eyes it looked like a monster dildo. In the car I asked him what it was, and he explained everything to me. I have no idea if they used it that night, but I fell asleep covering my ears, lol. It probably wasn't the best way to do it, and things could have gone really wrong, but now I have a good communication when it comes to sex and safety with my mom. Opening everything by ripping it apart instead of normally opening it when someone tears into the bread wrapper instead of untwisting the twist hive, like WTF now we can't close it. What kind of fucking unfrozen caveman has access to your pantry? Never kissed each other. Ever. At all. Or hugged. Or showed any type of intimacy. They divorced though, so makes sense. My parents were like that and still are, still married though. It must explain my intimacy issues. Are you my ex? Sorry to hear. Hope you are doing okay. My dad remarried and seeing him being affectionate with his current wife is really weird. I like her and am happy for them, but it really brings back memories of him and mom never doing that. Yeah, we had an uncle like that, bickered and not affectionate to his first wife, but after she died, he got involved with someone else and we watched him dote on her. His older daughter really resented him for treating her mom so coldly for all those years. Dude, I actually talk to most of my patients about this. I'm a nurse. Before I was a nurse, my dad was totally against taking drugs, even ibuprofen for headaches. I was raised in the middle of nowhere on a farm with horses, cows, rabbits, chickens, we hunted and fished, didn't have internet, etc. My whole life until nursing school, I told myself I had to cowboy up like my dad said to do. Now I'm on Synthroid and Ritalin. Turns out I have thyroid problems and severe focusing issues. Thanks nursing school. I used to do this growing up. I saw a news piece about everyone becoming immune to antibiotics, so I thought we were becoming immune to all drugs so I could have the worst headache and not take anything because I thought it'd only take drugs when I really had to, so they wouldn't become useless on me. I still sort of do it because it's what I'm used to. Lol. Said, I love you regularly to each other, specifically as an Asian American first-gen immigrant family. Apparently within most Asian American families with immigrant parents they don't say I love you much, there are even a bunch YouTube videos about it. Yeah, can confirm. I've never said it to anyone besides my so. But my so's family, also Asian, throw it around so casually like there was a shipping error and now they're overstocked on I love yous. I'm always caught off guard when they throw one my way and I'm like, yay I love you too, okay bye. It's awkward. Well, I want to say poop knife, but it would be a lie. What? Is there significance other than poop knife? Well, I want to say poop knife, but it would be a lie. Thanks. Not my family, but my buddy's dad used to use BBQ sauce as a salad dressing. That's essentially what Western salad dressing is. Lol, my dad does this too. TBF he also uses baby back ribs as salad. The typical Canadian versions have Catalina dressing, http://www.craftcanada.com/products/000681000412117, and Russian dressing, http://www.craftcanada.com/products/000681000413330, are pretty much the same as many BBQ sauce recipes: tomato paste or ketchup, vinegar, oil, sugar, or molasses, salt and seasoning. As part of our weekly chores, we has to cut off the dingleberries using dedicated scissors from our mixed breed bulldog poodle mix. That's not odd, that's just properly caring for an animal though. Correct? And shame on the dumbest commenting who thinks this dude is cutting things off his pet's balls. What a doof, WTF. I think you're dumb and don't know the world. Dingleberries aren't inherently on the balls of creatures. Dingleberry is the term for piled up material that rolls into balls. Long-haired dogs get all kinds of dingleberries from the ground and bushes. My parents were, and still are, incredibly affectionate. They always flirted, held hands, cuddled on the couch, whatever. It wasn't until I started going over to friends' houses that I discovered this wasn't the norm. Now that I'm older, I'm grateful though. Not entirely weird. But my mom was deployed in the Navy for years at a time, and my dad worked as a salesman. So he didn't have a lot of time in afternoons to do all the housework. Our laundry room was in our basement and our bedrooms were on the second floor. So instead of carrying the clothes up for me and my two brothers, he made a whole room in the basement that he hung our clothes in. And we would go down to the basement every morning for clothes. I thought this was normal until he'd have friends over and they would see I have no dresser and all my clothes were in the basement. And we would walk in pajamas or underwear every morning to the basement instead of having clothes in our rooms. I think it was a better idea cause the room was right next to the furnace, so the clothes were always warm and dried quickly in winter. Your dad is low-key a genius, yeah. He's very d. Doesn't matter what it'll cost, he'll do it himself. Our sewage broke when a root is a pipe, so he dug up the whole leach field and put new gravel and pipe in. Renovated our bathrooms himself. Takes a while, but he gets it done. My dad taught us at an early age to prep his evening drink. 3 cubes of ice, pour brown bottle to this line on the smaller clear plastic glass, then add some water to this line. It was bourbon or something. Also gave us little tiny cups of wine with meals to try and teach us about the finer things in life, way too early. Turns out he was an alcoholic. TBF, I've known non-alcoholics who let really young kids have a bit of wine with dinner. In the US? Because I know it's more common in other countries. Canada, same diff when it comes to that though. It happens here in the US. Just not as often. It's a religion thing, as far as I know. Not exactly one thing specifically, but I was raised a Jehovah's Witness and I didn't realize just how severe and unnatural my childhood was until I left the religion and made non-Jew friends whose lives had been insanely different and happier. Same, like I wanna buy a miniskirt cause they are cute, and whenever I try one out I think I look okay, but feel super uncomfy showing that much skin because of the knee-length rule. I'm really tall, so I always had to wear skirts down to like my ankles because knee length was never knee length for me. My parents were missionaries too, so I got forced to live in a third world country for most of my teenage years. My mom would put a small towel between her legs for a certain amount of time each month after showering period. How do you know what yo mama was doing in the shower? It says after the shower. Read. Oh okay. Didn't see that. Sugar in almost anything. Juice, sugar. Cereal, sugar. Yogurt, sugar. Vitamins, sugar. And not just a little sugar, but like 3 big spoons filled to the top. Did you get the diabetes? Not me, but there were health problems in my family because of it. I stopped as soon as I realized how weird and unhealthy it was. My mom still does it, but I'm trying to get her to stop. One more weird thing is that my mom and grandma hated plain water and avoided drinking it as much as they could. My mom made our cereal without milk. No liquid. Dry cereal with brown sugar. That's how I eat mine because of her. I've never met anyone else who does it. Oh, and my mother's second husband called her mummy the whole time they were married because he moved in when I was 3 and left when I was 16. Think it started because that's what I called her when I was a toddler. Creepy as hell for a grown-ass man though. He also brewed his own beer and taught me to pour it for him and his mates, which was my primary chore daily from age 6 onwards. We used to eat dinner at like 5 and my mom would go to bed at 8. I'd love this personally. With various sports and activities, and so that commutes hour plus every day, dinner and bed is whenever I can get it done. Are you my kid? Lunch is at 11:30. We are hungry by 5. I think it is weird when families don't eat until 8:30. I am tired by then and like having the cooking and dishes finished. My mom would move out all the time. She would pack up all her stuff, say her goodbyes, then move back in a few days or weeks later, and we'd have to pretend nothing happened. Didn't know until high school that it wasn't a normal behavior. Why would she leave though? Her and my dad fight a lot, and a bunch of kids stressed her out. I'm guessing mental stability played part in it. They would fight about the dumbest stuff, and then all of a sudden she wasn't our mom anymore, just packing up and leaving. Whenever we came home from school and the picture frames were off the wall, we knew it was about that time. They're still married, seem happier now that it's just them in the house. She's my stepmom, but I just say mom. Thanks for answering. Also, I'm so sorry you had a childhood like that. I went to my friend's once and they dad put out a bunch of cold cuts including raw bacon, just like regular strips of bacon. They were from somewhere like Yugoslavia or Macedonia, I'm not really sure. It totally grossed me out as a kid. My friend had no idea we normally fried it until it was crisp. It was probably Salo. It was our standard brand of strip bacon, but I guess back then something like Salo or Lardo wouldn't have been available in stores for immigrants, so you're probably not far off. They just made do with a similar local cured pork product. Ed, PS to fix that link, do take that back, it's delicious. It is called specked and it's smoked, not raw. I do prefer it additionally fried too, but it is completely normal to eat it as is. TBF, I was a kid, and at the time Southern Ontario, Canada was still pretty much a wasp enclave. Strip bacon was only fried and served either with breakfast or on a burger or BLT, and sometimes crumbled onto salad. It wasn't just me. I remember telling friends and family about my adventure, and you was the only response. Anyway, yes, you're correct, it's still brine cured and smoked, not technically raw. They had a flock of pink plastic flamingos in the yard. Before winter snows arrived, instead of taking them inside, Dad would tie a bright red ribbon around their heads to prevent the snowblower from burying them. When I asked why he didn't simply bring them indoors, he said, seeing the flamingos in the snow throughout the winter gave him and Mom thoughts of Florida and warm weather returning. My mom had a photo album of my actual birth in the living room. Maybe 15 to 20 black and white pictures of her vagina and me coming out of it. My dad took the pictures. I remember showing the album to my best friend when I was about 8 years old. My mom was a hippie. Edited for spelling. My mom kept my baby teeth and my siblings' teeth in a little jar. She still has them now. Edited to make it sound like it's just our teeth, not my siblings, in a Stannis Baratheon stillbirths in a jar situation. Dude, you should probably let your siblings out of the jar. They sleep contently on a bed of my teeth. When mommy took daddy for walks. Happy birthday, I was like 5, so straight sex. Calling dicks wee men. If my mom was angry with me and I didn't apologize to her, she'd give me the silent treatment. She could last for days. Once, I wanted to see how long she could last, but after a week, I couldn't take it anymore. I thought everyone's parents were at least mildly emotionally abusive too.